Hey, we want to welcome you to the Triple Thread podcast. Welcome back again. My name's Lamar.
I'm Joey.
And we're excited to have my good friend, Kenneth. I call him Kenny Rule. Kenny, you are a VIP today, which means you're a very important podcaster. Did you know that?
I did not know that.
Yeah,
it's good to know.
Welcome to this episode of Triple Thread. Kenny and I met probably well over a year ago. We're in a Bible study together. He is a brother, lives local, is an elder in his church at Fairhaven Church, has an incredible story, which I'm going to let him tell because he knows it quite well. But it's incredible what God has done in Kenny's life. He is well accomplished in his work life, currently was working for Lilly, currently works for a powerful company helping people fight this thing called cancer. So, hey, listen, you're going to hear a lot about life, HBCU, which I'm excited to hear, basketball, a la Cleveland Cavaliers. So, Kenny, welcome. Take it away. Tell us about Kenny Rule. First of all, wife, kids, tell us about family.
Sure. Wife with 2 children.
Yeah.
My wife's name is Karma.
Yeah.
We've been together for, since 1999 is when I met and we started dating. This year, November, will be 20 years that we would have been married.
Wow.
So excited about that she has suffered.
Feel ya.
Chloe is I'm going backwards now. Chloe is my daughter.
Yeah.
I'm a consummate girl dad.
Ooh.
She will be 16. She's 15 and a half now. I know the half because she's a September baby like myself. So my son will be 17 March the 13th.
Yeah.
So
wow.
we were late bloomers. So now we're in this wonderful season of just watching them become their own people.
Yes.
Fortunate not to have any issues because I hear those stories all the time, and I know that's a low bar, but to not have them and just get good reports about their character in both school and in sport, it makes us proud. So from work, my wife and lacrosse and cheer, that keeps me busy.
Yeah, it keeps you so busy.
Yes.
Every time I'm with Kenny, I'm learning, I'm growing, I'm asking, I'm talking. We truly enjoy brotherhood together. His life is one, really, I say this, you got to write a book. But your life is truly, I think, a reflection of the goodness and grace of God and your family and just growing up. You know, Joe, here's reality. For those of you who are viewing and for those of you who are listening, you and I are a little bit lighter than our brother Ken. So
Might say I noticed that.
Little bit lighter. But I got the name
I was
at
thinking
least.
belly one
No,
night.
I'm not talking about. But don't go there. I'm talking about. But my brother here has got an incredible story. Can he take us from like just growing up, kind of how God just lifted you up, carried you, and the accomplishments, not just in your life, but in your family's life? It's remarkable.
No, sure. I think you're speaking of, I was born in Chicago, grew up in Gary, Indiana, until the 6th grade. I was fortunate to have my father in my life, even though my mother and father were separated when I was 1.
Wow.
They were married 7 years, but separated when I was 1. But one of the first blessings with whatever the situation within their relationship, it had no bearing on how they were going to rear me. So my dad kept me every weekend, which I thought was a norm. And now thinking back on it, or as I've grown older, you'll see every other weekend or seasonal or whatever, but every weekend he would pick me up, and he's the reason why you hear grandmothers or aunts or mothers taking their children to church. Every Sunday, he would be the one that would take me to church. He was a deacon at the church and college graduate in social work at the high school. So humble means, but I would experience things like he would drive the church bus and I would be with him. And that would be a way in which he would supplement his tithe. So instead of taking a pay for it,
right,
that's how he would give back. And I would see him. He was the one that when I would walk past his room in the morning, he would have fallen asleep reading his Bible because it would either be right next to him or laying on him.
Wow.
And, we grew up in a middle class community. Even though it was all black in Gary, it was still just that classical middle class, all college educated and or steel workers. And at the time, that was a booming economy then. And as the posh crowd speaks about their different political and or other social issues, my quiet dad would just highlight something, how good the Lord has been to him in whatever that situation is, which is odd in some crowds to speak that way.
Right.
But this is a man who in his teens was diagnosed with a congenital heart disease where he's had 3 valve replacement surgeries. Wow. So when you've had that life and you realize that you've outkicked the coverage, then you become more sensitive to different things. And it wasn't just the universe as much it was his Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. Wow. I haven't spoken much of my mother in this because I think it was just so unique that it was my father who made this type of impression on me. And given the setting in which we're in, I could go on for chapters speaking about all the things that my mother did for me. There's no discounting that. She's still living, 94, lives on her own in an assisted living community. But in this context, I think it matters our impact as men on our children to be the one that they can point to, unless the father isn't around,
Correct.
Of course. But if we are there, we are present, especially if we're in the home, it should not be the mother pulling everyone together to go to church.
I think it's interesting you said it. God would set it up to where your father would have you on the weekends, which would be the prioritization of we're going to church. And he was setting that. I think what's awesome is also to hear how your father, you knew he wasn't playing around. The Word of God, he was saturating his life with the Word of God. So as an early child, that's emblazoned in you, which I'm going to ask you, it's got to play a part and a role in your life now as it matters with your son and daughter remembering back
Correct.
to the power of your father.
And I'll fast forward a little bit. We moved to Charlotte because when I was speaking to your producer here, letting me know or asking some things about me or from the notes that he has, I did grow up both places, and then I'll get to that piece. My mom remarried, and that's when we moved from Charlotte. She's from North Carolina, he's from Indiana. And I bring that up because my stepfather at the time was a very remarkable man himself. So even if I didn't have my dad in my life, I was blessed enough to have someone else who I could call that, but I couldn't call him that because that title and position was taken.
Right.
Tying the two together, neither of them, here's a common thread, were the first to have to speak nor the last to be heard type of men. Mm-hmm. So I take that approach to my influence on my children from my walk and their walk with Christ by an example. Mm-hmm. They know that I was a chaplain at the time, and I guess we'll get to that. They know that I was a staff pastor. They know that I was a Sunday school teacher. They know that I'm an elder at our church. They know that I'm the one that brings us to church every week. They know that when I'm at Bible study. So they see and witness. They see how the words that come out of my mouth and don't, the language that I speak, the compassion that I have. So I'm hoping that in the why behind it. So I'm hoping that instead of forcing anything on them, I can be the influencer and let God do the work from the other side. Only because I'm just a product of the example that was, not saying it's right or wrong, but that was the example that my father laid on me.
I think what I remember also early on in our conversations, you talked about your father. We've heard incredible testimony of your father and his love for the Lord. I remember you saying this, that you listened to your father's speech, which was different than where we find our world today. Can you talk about that, how your father carried himself?
Again, I just spoke to how he was quiet, but if you wanted to get him talking,
right,
talk about the things of the Lord.
Yeah.
And not from a fanatical or radical perspective. In the same tone, in the same tenor, in the same context as we're having a conversation right now. It's just that topic is testimonial to how good God has been to him. If that is the most profound thing, you ask a common question, how was your day? Did you have a good day today? Well, if you can highlight, because of how sensitive you are to your relationship with Christ, and you can see him move in your life in that day.
Yeah.
And when you realize how sensitive your constitution may be because of your congenital heart disease,
Right.
then you do appreciate things a little bit differently. So it would not be uncommon, and it wasn't just a one-time thing. It wasn't an all-the-time thing. It was, don't ask me a question if you don't really want the answer kind of thing.
Because he's going to tell you.
He's going to tell you.
And he was a man, you told me he modeled speech that was clean.
I never heard my mother, father, or stepfather curse.
Wow. And you know what?
I'm 54. My mother's 94.
And I'll just say it, and I'm a pastor. My kids couldn't say that. And so, but that has directly influenced you as well.
Correct. My children have never heard myself or my wife curse.
Powerful.
That is so powerful.
I mean,
Incredible.
Joe?
It's incredible. We don't want to go there.
Okay. I'm just saying,
Yeah.
but the instilling of faith and life, and really walking, not just talking, walking, sharing community and Jesus and life and scripture and Bible and all of this, which really, I said this today to a person, you train up a child in the way that they should go. When they're old, they're not going to depart from it. And I was blessed to have parents that lived faith, weren't perfect, loved the Lord. And I look back on my life, giving my life to Christ at an early age, surrendering to vocational ministry in my 20s, a patch of my life that literally I was like, trying to figure it out and really running in rebellion. But I think all of us hope that and pray that our children will, if we train them, that they will walk, eternally, because I think it has to be theirs. Your children, you said it early, man, you're not trying to force anything. And I think the Bible says we got to work out our own salvation, fear and trembling. And so it's our job to guide. It's our job to stamp and to carve those things in.
Sure.
But our kids, right? They gotta follow. And you, man, but you saw a lot. I mean, growing up, God provided in ways powerfully and really elevated your family in ways that is remarkable. And I want you to touch on that. And you said something to me the other day that pushed me back in a good way. You said, I was the first person in my family. Do you remember that conversation we had? Go there. This is powerful.
Well, it's perspective, and I'll end with that, and don't let me forget.
Okay.
Because I think you have to lead up to it.
Okay.
what you're alluding to is I'm fourth generation college graduate. My great grandfather had his PhD. My great grandfather had his PhD. My grandmother graduated from HBCU. Of course, had no choice back
And
then.
for our listeners, so that everybody, HBCU.
Historically Black College and University.
Okay.
She went to Johnson C. Smith University, but she went on to get her master's degree from New York University. Her only sister.
NYU. Yeah, the great guy.
Yes. And so my mom's 94. So that lets you know how long ago that this was. When I graduated in 94, coincidentally, the two sisters I'm speaking of were about 100.
Okay.
So that pushes back to when they went to school. She went to Livingstone University, again, an HBCU. My mother went to Hampton University in Virginia,
Right.
HBCU, and she received 2 master's degrees from Chicago and UConn. My father, he had 6 siblings. 4 of them went to college. 2 of them have master's degrees. So from both sides, I was surrounded by this, and these are the elders in my family. My stepfather, as we mentioned, he went to Johnson C. Smith and a chemistry major, and he ended up going to Meharry Medical College to be a medical doctor. I'm the run of the litter, and I think this is also what you're alluding to. My oldest brother has his PhD in chemistry, his wife a PhD in literature. My sister has her master's in speech pathology and is a dentist and retired, the chief dental officer of the state of Maryland. Her husband was the first Black cardiologist at Johns Hopkins. He was an interventional cardiologist. My next sister is a lieutenant colonel and a military doctor. She went to Hampton University and medical school. Her husband was full bird colonel, and he was the first graduating 4 Blacks from VMI. Wow. So this goes on. So it's 9 of us, but I could go on. This is what I was surrounded by in every direction.
Overachievers,
Excellence.
basically, right?
Excellence
Yeah.
is what I keep hearing.
So where this leads to is 2 things. One is my perspective on compassion for others.
Yeah.
Remember earlier in the story I mentioned I grew up middle class. I mean, I had Black doctors, dentists, the attorneys lived up the street, your teachers lived on your block, the mayor was Black. So I mean, when I say social economics matter, this was a normal functioning community, but I was surrounded by community and nurturing. So my elementary school in Gary, Indiana had probably a 90% college attendance percentage. It was remarkable. I learned how to play the violin there. We learned foreign language there. I played through the 12th grade. So when you're immersed in these situations, flew on a plane for the first time when I was 10 by myself, not just the first time flying. And this was to my uncle's house in Columbus, to which the next summer I went to his house in Florida.
Right. And people of affluence and influence.
Correct. So if you are a person and this is your surroundings, it impacts what you believe can be. No one told me I was going to school because it was the norm. You didn't have to preach it. You didn't have to promote it. You didn't have to push it because that was your norm. We would drive to Asheville to see the leaves change, and we would travel and we would go to plays, etc. You take all that away from a child and you put them in abject chaos, then the expectancy is different because the exposure to nurturing is different. At school, it was quiet, it was peaceful. We were challenged to get through. Remember the books that you had to get through the 7th grade?
Sure.
Tapestry, I don't know what they were back in the day, but the goal was how quickly could you get to finish your book.
Speed
in what
read.
grade, not fast to read,
Right.
but in what grade could you complete all of the books that you were required to complete in elementary. But so that's at school.
Yeah.
So then you go home and you're getting the same from everyone on the block and in your community. You take that away and put someone else in a different situation, you get a different outcome.
Yeah.
So I'm going to then tap into the ministry that led to, but the question that you asked about being the first within the context of everything that I shared, for them not to be bitter for the things that they went through. I purposefully mentioned first.
Yes.
My brother and sister-in-law were the first professors at UNC Asheville. They aren't rich folks, but they have a name on a building, on the humanities building. I mentioned my brother-in-law being the first. I mentioned my brother-in-law being the first at Johns Hopkins. My father was responsible for integrating Piedmont Hospital in Charlotte, North Carolina. So what they went through, you would think could leave a root of bitterness. What you said was what I was. I didn't realize it, but born in 1971, I was the first fully free child in my family.
Listen to that. Say it again.
Being born in 1971, my sister, who was 17 years older than I, she was not born with 14th, 15th, 16th Amendment.
Perspective.
Right?
Absolutely.
So all of that accomplishment that was being achieved was in spite of and through it all. My mother had to be sent. I spoke of her accomplishment, but she had to be sent to boarding school so that she could avoid a lot of the potential pain and suffering that she could have suffered in Charlotte, North Carolina.
As a woman of color.
As a woman of color in that day.
Wow.
So when you think boarding school today, you think
oh, that's a good thing.
It's something
elite.
that you do in order to get a leg up. But for many families like mine back in the day, it was a way to avoid different sets of circumstances. So they would send you up north to different boarding schools so that you could avoid a lesser burden of what was happening in the South.
Wow. And your mom, you spoke of her with great power, grace, grit. But your mom just continued to display and could have, going back to that root of bitterness, she continued to display an attitude of grace and goodness and hope.
Exactly. And that's the part that I think I was sitting there reading Acts, and it's just amazing that no matter what Paul and Silas or Paul and whomever else he was with during the time, whatever they would go through, they would count it all joy and realize that
suffering
was a part of it. They didn't, I wouldn't say enjoyed it, but they understood it. It was a part of the process.
Yeah.
So and I'm not mentioning, we don't have to dissect how they felt about it, but we can actually inspect how they reacted to it.
Yeah.
And it did not harden their hearts. It did not sour them towards the message that they were sent out to carry. Therefore, I think that's been an influence on a lot of us in my community, in which we refuse to become what we despise the most.
We refuse
to become what we despise the most.
Despise the most. And the beauty of community is that we all can react or respond in a powerfully positive way or a negative way. We're learning currently about Daniel, and it was amazing to me to watch Daniel's life. In our Bible study, we've been studying the life of Daniel, and it's truly amazing to look at a teenager who was ripped away from his community, right? Yeah. And put in a place that he didn't check the box for. And yet God used him powerfully, not just for a few years, but from the time he was a teenager to the time that he grew old, even as I was studying today, by the time he's 80, everybody loves the story of Daniel in the lion's den. Daniel wasn't a teenager in the lion's den. Right. Daniel was at the end of his really life. and God was still using him in a powerful way. We got more to talk
A lot.
about with my friend Kenny Rule, but before we do, we need to take a break.
Yeah.
And so, Joey, take us to break.
Kenny, I'm just blown away by your story so far. After this, I want to get your number because I'd love to get together with you. But
Sure.
yeah, we're going to pause for a brief message. Lamar, but stay tuned. We got a lot more coming.
Yeah. Hey, everybody, I'm really excited to announce that Dirty Big Secret is now on Amazon. That's right. It's now available for your friends and family, people that you work with, people you go to school with. Tell them about Dirty Big Secret. It truly is a life story, my life story about the need for you and I to be in community. And so I would so appreciate you telling people. I would also appreciate if this has meant a lot to you. I know a lot of you have told me how much it's touched your life. If it has meant something to you, would you please give an Amazon review, because that just helps people see the opportunity for them to pick up the book. So please help us out. Get the word out. Go to Amazon. Tell your friends. Tell your family. So excited. You can look at the link below. It'll take you right to that link. I'm excited. Woo! Celebrate with me. Dirty Big Secret. The need for community. It's real. Blessings to you. Hey, thanks for coming back, and we're excited to have this time together. Yeah. Man, the time's gone fast, Joe, with Kenny, and he could talk. We may need to have him back very soon.
I feel that.
Yeah. So, Kenny, you have shared a lot of life. Just share with us where you are currently in your work. You're leading a team, and then kind of take us back to the basketball days for you as far as Cleveland.
Sure. Well, I've been in pharmaceutical industry for 27 years. You mentioned 22 of that was with my former company, Eli Lilly. Nothing but great memories there. Just had a different opportunity with Eisai, it's a Japanese company. I'm in their oncology division, but you might be, or cancer care division, you might be more familiar with some of our neuroscience products that we've innovated, which Aricept from back in the day for Alzheimer's symptoms, and now we have one of the other therapies for the treatment of Alzheimer's as well. Do lead a team in the state of Ohio. Been fortunate to do that. I'm only going to mention this because it all ties together. It's my leadership principles of love and accountability, and that comes from being a parent, in which I don't have just co-workers. If you work with me or for me, then I consider us a family, and the way I lead is with a caring, loving heart. But if you're a parent, you know there's still parameters and boundaries. Yeah. Just because I love you doesn't mean that I allow you to do everything that you want to do. Yeah. But it's my goal to influence you and to lead you and to guide you to be the best version of yourself and to protect you from harm's way within my power. And when our time is done for that season, whether you move on or that you've learned something that you can take with you to help you navigate and get more out of your career. Speaking of ministry, I told the story, or I think the tie for my family upbringing and how much I mentioned that is because the impact on a child I was without excuse, at least from a example perspective. I still had my types of things in this world that I had to navigate, but at the end of the day, I was equipped for it. When I went into ministry, when I moved to Cleveland, I found a great church there, and it was one of the first times, even though I didn't have to unlearn things from the church that I grew up in, it was the first time I really sat in a situation where there was the true expository teaching, where you could literally have a whole series on one passage of the Bible because you walk through each word in the context and what was going on at the time from a historical perspective, and the Greek and the Hebrew or Aramaic as appropriate, so that you could truly understand what you were learning. And it was the first time that it was almost in color. The words actually, it's unavoidable because now you had a deeper understanding. And even though I was baptized when I was 12, and I remember it wasn't, I don't discount that experience from a conversion perspective, because I knew, this is back in the days when you had to get up, walk down the aisle.
Yes.
Right?
Oh,
So
yes.
it was a true commitment for the
Correct.
whole body,
Correct.
if that's what you were gonna do. But I still wrestled through my adult life with what that walk would be like.
Right.
I just walked like a kid, still on wobbly legs, with his hands up, waiting for your parents. Remember how you used to carry your children like that?
Come and get me.
Yeah.
Well, no, you're not coming to get me. That's just somehow they walked. I guess.
Yeah, like trying to balance themselves.
Yes. But when I moved to Cleveland and set up under this experience, that's when I had my 180 Paulinian moment, in which I realized that in order to fulfill what I knew was right, I had to start walking right. And just cut out a lot of things that I was afraid to let go of. So the friends that still remain, they're the friends that I still have today. Or other things that you think you'll miss, you don't miss. But one part that clarity ended up after sitting with great Bible teachers, and then I was a part of the teaching, and then I got asked to now become a deacon, and then I got asked to do other types of projects, and then I got asked to be on the staff pastor, then I got asked to be a chaplain, and I keep saying that because I never applied or asked to do any of those roles. And each of these roles, just by showing up and walking right, providing whatever leadership, because you just don't ever know who's watching, that I was always just appointed. And I'm not saying that that's the right way, and I'm not saying I'm special. I'm just saying it's quite odd. Fast forward. When
You
I
were being
moved-
faithful in the field.
Yes.
David was faithful in the field.
I guess, and I'm not gonna. I say yes. I agree, because if you are, then it removes everything doesn't happen that you want.
Faithful in a little?
Then that's that part I do believe.
Yeah.
It may not come in riches, it may not come in the
I'm
job
not
that you think you want or other things, but I know that if your goal is to serve, then that door will be open and that path will be paved for you.
Faithful in the field. David was faithful in the field. He was just doing what his father bid him to do, which was go check on his brothers, carry some cheese, and guess what happens? He ends up fighting Goliath.
Exactly.
So you were just in place. You were available in community.
Correct. And engaged and immersed, and it was a childlike wonder, all these new things that I was learning. And realizing, for me, I even went to school. I went to Liberty and Moody, but I was just so excited about the learning. How about this? I didn't even want to be on track for a degree.
You just wanted to learn.
I took the classes, but audited them because in my mind, I wasn't there for a degree. I just needed the formal learning because that's my learning style.
So awesome.
For the journey.
Exactly. But you asked about the chaplaincy, and here's the connection of my upbringing to why I moved into Cleveland and I lived in the city, because a lot of the parachurch ministries and youth ministries, I needed to be able to help and influence the indigent who didn't have the same privileges that I did, and the children who were growing up in those communities. So it's because I realized where some mistaken that just get her done, so to speak. Well, it's hard to find a way if you don't have a map. And if you've never had a guide. So at the end of the day, that inspired my youth ministry, which then led to what you mentioned earlier, the chaplaincy. So that was a wonderful experience. I was co-chaplain for the Cavs for 7 years.
The Cleveland Cavaliers.
Yes, that started with 4 games the first season, like 12 the next, and then from that point on, we were dividing the games. 42 games is 41 games is a lot of home games. So, and especially if you bivocational, so it's helpful to have someone that you could share that burden with.
Right.
And unlike football chaplaincy, I was a chaplain for the Cleveland Gladiators, the Arena League team there, and it's typical. They have a different speaker every chapel. The basketball players is a very close knit. See, you can hide in a crowd of 55, but when it's only 15, right, it's a different experience. And those of that 15, if they choose to go to chapel, they're making a statement.
What a nugget that I would have never considered.
Yes, it's football teams like the general population. You can go to church for the experience or for whatever reason. So you can go to chapel with your fellas because it still is a good thing to do.
Okay.
If you're a basketball player, they have to change your shooting schedule because they all have to rotate on the court. So it's an intentionality, and you're making a statement by just showing up for chapel.
So could you say this as you say that, and these are incredible insights, nuggets. So could you say that if you're on a football team and you're going to chapel, it's kind of like going to corporate church, but if you're on a basketball team and you choose to go to chapel, this is like, I'm going to be a part of a life group. I'm going to be part of in similar fashion.
Absolutely. Either you are in that intentional journey or you are a sold out believer. But and you can tell which teams and whoever's the leader on the team because they pull people with. You could tell. It could be a lonely place. People thought this is where I'm going with it. I loved that experience because I just love sports. I love being able to go to the games.
Let's go.
I'll tell you this piece, but these are the 2 things that I appreciated as much. I love the time with the athletes, but I would get there 2 hours early. I would print out 50 chapel notes. And I would, of course, put them on the players' seats in the locker room. And then I would make a trek around the stadium. And it was no greater joy than to see the ushers and the security that were waiting for me every game when I would make my journey around the stadium.
You were pastoring them.
That was as fulfilling. And that afternoon, I could have been at Faith Baptist, where I had a standing every first Thursday. I would go and deliver a message. This is a center where you could get food, clothing.
Wow.
So people who were there to get food, clothing, and once a month, I believe a dentist came, and the joy that they would have when I would be with them.
Yeah.
It's hard to compete with when I look at the ushers and the security, or when I see the faces of these people, because the athletes, a lot of them, they had a mask that was shielded by millions of dollars, a mask made of millions. So it's a lot of, and not all, but you can hide the brokenness, you can hide the isolation, you can hide a lot of things. And because of the shell that you have to put up because of the predators, it's hard for you to let someone in.
Right.
Especially if you know there's some things that they may not want you to see on the other side. I never got an autograph. I never got a gift. I was a little more mature. I wasn't a millionaire, but I was secure in my vocation.
Right.
So I didn't need anything from them, and I never walked in that way.
Right.
It never walked in that way. I never carried it like we wanted to be friends. I never carried it like I wanted to be the star's pastor.
Right.
I was there to be a light, and if you wanted some light, I would be there for you.
Kenny, your life is a light. You have been an incredible friend, brother. We've gotten to walk together and share life together, and I'm grateful. In fact, I'll say this, the way that I met Ken was through one of our pastors here, Jim Tinch Jr., and their boys were in lacrosse together, and that was kind of the introduction. And so it's amazing how community is webbed, and the community that we've talked about, your life, has been truly amazing. Just a couple of quick, we'll put you on the hot seat as we end this show.
Sure.
Quickly, where did you go? Where did you get your education from? What HBCU did you graduate from?
I'm in obnoxious North Carolina A&T State University Aggie. Say that. It's the largest HBCU in the nation.
Are you proud of that?
I am. I am.
Good for you.
It meant a lot to me. I owe a lot to the university. It was a community in which it afforded me to grow up from 18 to 21. It was where I went back, and one of the assistant deans helped me get my first job.
Yes.
So I owe a lot to it. Did go on afterwards. So I can't say enough of it, but I think I mentioned all of the others that went to HBCUs as well. When I got my master's degree from Case Western Reserve a little bit later, but that was it was interesting. I got my degree, my master's in org development and change management for two purposes. Yeah. Since you brought it up, at the time, 2012, when I went to Case, I was in the throes of my ministry, and I was in the throes of my career. And it was a perfect opportunity to help build my skills that could be utilized both in the church from an administrative perspective and at work, which is why I chose that degree.
The marketplace and work.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
that's a true story.
That's good. And ministry and community doesn't just happen in the church. It happens in our marketplace. Yeah. And that's powerful. We'll have probably a dedicated podcast to marketplace community and how important that is. Favorite football team professionally?
That's a tough one. I'm big on answering the question. I'm going to deflect a little bit. I grew up a Bears fan, but they didn't give me much to cheer about.
No.
I have a vein where if you don't feed it, then the vein's going to collapse.
Yeah.
So I grew up a Cub fan, baseball first love.
Yeah.
Don't really have a favorite football team. I've been trying to date the Cleveland Browns, but
it's kind of like dating the Cincinnati Bengals right now.
Correct. It's a date you go out, you go to dinner, it's a great night, and then they don't call you for a month. Yeah. And then when you see them again, they act like nothing happened.
All right, an easier.
But I am an Ohio
there
State
you go. Did you hear that,
fan.
Joe?
There you go.
OH.
Baby.
Oh, man.
And in growing up in Charlotte during those years, ACC basketball reigned supreme. There was no pro sports.
Right.
There was no college football.
Yeah.
Clemson had a spell.
Yeah.
It was all ACC basketball. So I'm equally a Carolina basketball fan, an Ohio State Buckeye football fan. I want to be a Browns fan, but they won't let me.
Yeah, I feel your.
But I am a Cavs basketball
Good for
fan.
you.
Can I
Good
ask
for
one question?
Go right ahead.
Yeah, what do you hope people listening take away from your story? If you had one
great
thing
question. That one, it'll be two parts. Very briefly. One part is have compassion for others because their situation does matter. Yeah, it really does. I come from a mixed bag. I'm the wrong person to ask because I've had to wear an outward thing that people judge me by, but I also, in the same vein, was supported in a way that made me be able to navigate it better.
Sure. So
whether it's someone you don't know what they're going through, be a little more patient, be a little more compassionate, and try to see things from another person's perspective. And giving the audience here, I hope that we take all our lessons from our word, and that will actually this isn't just philosophical, it's scriptural. The other piece to that is I just wish that we would love a little more unconditionally. Just a little more unconditionally. Love isn't deserved. It's not deserved. It's not earned. it's something that we've been given as a gift. So all we're called to take from that deposit and now use that interest and start depositing it in others. So we combine that, then a lot would change. And you can start with your neighbors and people around you, people you work with, but then the test comes from how you treat the stranger the same way.
You know, love is that currency that Jesus gave us. And when asked by the religious of the day, what's the greatest? Love the Lord your God with all your heart, mind, soul, strength. And then he said,
The greatest
the
of
second,
these.
and the second is to love your neighbor, and the greatest of these is love. Well, Kenny Rule, you have loved us well. You have been vulnerable, and we have been great students and learners today to hear more of your powerful story. Thanks, Kenny, for being here today.
Thank you.
Yeah, man. Yeah,
Thank you,
you're
thank
my
you,
brother.
thank
What a blessing. I'm a better human for spending an hour with you.
Yeah.
No,
I
it's
appreciate
my-
you.
it's
I mean
my-
that. I mean that. Thanks for sharing your story, brother.
I appreciate it.
Thank
Joey,
you,
take
everyone
us
out
out.
there that's listening. They listen and watch. Share it. If you got something out of it, like, do all those good things, and we'll see you next time on Triple Thread.
Triple Thread. We'll see you.